All right, welcome, welcome. If you're new here, I am so glad you're joining us. I hope you find it to be a really good use of your time. If you're returning, I love seeing everybody's faces every Friday. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure to comment, like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more videos on legal technology talk. All right, so let's get right into it. Today, we're not going to talk about softwares and APIs. We aren't talking about conditional logic or field mapping. We're talking about the biggest competitor your law firm has. It isn't the firm down the street and it isn't LegalZoom. Your biggest competitor is the way we've always done it. We've all seen it. You buy the expensive software, you spend weeks building the perfect intake automation in Lawmatics or your database. You train the team, and 3 weeks later, you walk past a client service coordinator's desk and you see a yellow legal pad with a handwritten list of callbacks. Why? Is the software broken? No. Is the client service coordinator incompetent? Absolutely not. They are doing that because the legal pad feels safe and it feels tangible. So today I want to unpack the three psychological blockers that stop your team and colleagues from using the system you build. We're going to look at comfort, validation, and ownership. So let's start with comfort. Human beings are wired to seek the path of least resistance. We all do it. In a law firm, resistance isn't just physical effort, it is cognitive load. And it's the mental energy required to trust someone and something that you can't see. So when you ask someone to move from a spreadsheet to a fully automated CRM or practice management system, you're asking them to trade control for efficiency. A spreadsheet is visible. You can see the rows. You can highlight a cell in a bright red if it's urgent. It lives on your desktop. You own it. A database feels like a black hole. You put data in and you have to trust that it's going to come back out when you need it and how you need it. And that's terrifying for a support team member whose entire job relies on not dropping the ball and crippling the firm. So I worked with in a law firm a few years back that had, or with a law firm a few years back that had a really distinct problem. They had a great case management system, but deadlines were getting missed. We all know that story. I sat down with their client service coordinator on Zoom. We're going to call her Sarah. Sarah was amazing. She's been there for 15 years. She knows every client's birthday, everything. She's awesome. Now, after talking, we learned that every time she opened a file, she would check the computer and then she would open her top desk drawer. And inside that drawer was a little spiral notebook. She was double entry bookkeeping the entire firm's deadline calendar by hand. And I asked her why. She looked me dead in the eye and said, the computer crashed in 2014 and we lost a day of data. My notebook never crashes. That is the bottleneck. It wasn't that she couldn't learn the software, it was that the software didn't give her the comfort of physical verification. She was doubling her workload to buy herself peace of mind. The fix here is not to ban the notebook. It's to acknowledge the notebook serves an emotional purpose, not a functional one. You have to prove that the system is safer than the paper, especially now that systems are cloud-based and backed up all over the world with all these servers and backups. And I think Google even has a server ship where it floats around on a boat. I mean, it's crazy how much backup there is. The bottom line on comfort is simple. Your team isn't using paper because they're stubborn. They're using it because it is safe. A notebook is tangible proof that they did their job. So if you want them to let go of the shadow ledger, you can't just mandate it away. You have to prove that the system is safer than their desk drawer. So this moves us to the second point, which is probably the most sensitive one. And Beth, do you have anything to add to that one before we keep going? Okay.
Yeah, you're good.
Perfect. So the next one is validation. So we need to talk about the very human need to feel useful. In a law firm back office, value is often measured by busy work. If I'm typing emails, I'm working. If I'm entering data, I'm working. If I'm answering the phone, I'm working. When we say, or when we come in and say, good news, Lawmatics will now send all these emails, texts, and fee agreements automatically, and the client will enter their own data, what does the staff hear? They don't hear efficiency, they hear redundancy. They hear my job is on the line. I'm sure you all can relate to this feeling. This is the number one pushback we see when coaching teams. And it's okay for a moment to think that, but there is a time to step into your new role as a conductor of the system versus an instrument in the band. They think, if the computer does the intake, what do you need me for? But I want you to know that even intakes require humans because robots do the mundane. Humans build the relationship and analyze. Um, so I saw this with an intake specialist. We'll call him Mike. Nice guy, amazing on the phone. The firm implemented an automated booking link so leads could schedule their own consults. Mike hated it. He would actively discourage people from using the link. He would tell the leads on the phone, oh, don't worry about the website. Just tell me when you're free and I'll handle it. True story. He wasn't being insubordinate. He was protecting his identity because that's what we tie ourselves to. He felt that his value to the firm was his ability to manage the calendar. If the clients booked themselves, he felt he was losing his seat at the table. He thought that if he wasn't the gatekeeper, he was nothing. How many of you have a Mike in your office right now? Or how many of you relate to Mike? Someone who insists on doing things manually because clients prefer a personal touch, when really they just need to feel needed. We've talked about this before, the automated world. People know that automations are sending reminders and everything, but they also know that in the past, the communication was worse. They'll take the trade-off for great updates and communication. Don't underestimate your clients and potential clients. So the logic here is simple. You have to reframe their value. You have to show them that their value isn't in typing the email. It isn't in designing the client experience. Or I'm sorry, it is in designing the client experience. That's their role. You aren't taking their job, you're elevating it. This is the conductor versus the instrumentalist. All right. So before the next point, Beth, any comments?
Yes, because sometimes you have a combination of Sarah and the gatekeeper. So you have like both of those things, and both of these fixes can be put in to help that, and really reassuring people that the computer is not taking over for you, and pointing out the value of what they're doing. And what will end up happening, just to give you a little bit, is what will end up happening is your clients will start to compliment them on how they feel and what they're doing and the improved experience that they have. That will eventually happen.
Absolutely. And this is where you start seeing things like in your Google reviews, where they move from the law firm is great, they do what they say they're going to do, to you have to go here because Sarah is so awesome to work with. And you're going to actually start seeing names populate in Google reviews because they're taking this communication that they're getting automated, they're associating it with you and your awesome personality and building that relationship. And you've just created the perfect um, thing for them to attach to. And they're going to tell everybody about it. So, yeah, I love that, Beth. All right, let's keep going. So, now we're going to talk about ownership versus imposition. This is where most implementations fail. Usually, a partner goes to a conference, sees a demo, gets excited, buys the software, and on Monday morning, drops it on the staff and says, use this. This is an imposition. It feels like homework. It feels like a mandate from above by someone who doesn't actually have to do the clicking. If the team feels like the system is something happening to them, they're going to find ways to break it. They will find the edge cases where it fails just to say, see, I told you it wouldn't work. Those are the exceptions. And those exceptions will still be handled by a human. The standards won't. So imagine coming into work and taking a deep breath instead of starting with crippling anxiety of what the day has in store. That's refreshing. So when I was working in a law firm with Beth several years ago, the best systems weren't the ones the partners pushed. They were the ones the staff demanded because it made the annoying parts of their day vanish. If you want adoption, you have to sell the selfish benefit to the user, not just the ROI, return on investment to the firm. In fact, at the firm we were at, the original database we wanted, the attorney did not. We saw it at a conference, so that's true, but the attorney had every pushback. Beth got her buy-in and we did it, and it saved us in that time. Next week, we're talking about why your law firm feels fragile, which is going to tie perfectly into this. So, how do we get there? You stop building for them and you start building with them. You ask them, what is the one thing you hate doing every single day? And then you kill that task with automation. You become their hero, not their overseer. Think of yourself as the fly swatter. You get to come and kill these pesky flies that are going to make the job much easier and enjoyable. A great example is when we're putting together proper intakes, we hear from the attorney the guardrails and all of that they want in place. But when we want to hear, but then we want to hear from the boots on the ground client service coordinators of what is working, what isn't, and why. And we build around that, honoring the guardrails that the attorney rightfully requires. But we put the human side in the legal world with the help of the people actually doing it, the client service coordinators. All right. So let's wrap this up with some clear takeaways that you can take with you today. Number one, acknowledge the fear. Don't mock the spreadsheets or the notebooks. Recognize that they represent safety. Your job is to provide a safer, more efficient alternative. That's the buy-in. Redefine value. Make sure your team knows that automation doesn't replace them. Excuse me. Instead, it frees them to do the high-level work that actually requires a human brain. And I'm going to interject here. People say, yeah, but I can have Google Gemini or ChatGPT think for me. I'm going to tell you, you can't. It is there as a tool to assist you, but you have to check everything it's giving. You have to guide it into giving you responses that you want because it'll go off the rails. You still have to have that human brain. It's just it's more efficient now, and you can get more polished results with what you're looking to do. And then number three, sell the selfish benefit. Stop selling the software based on you hear it's popular and you heard a great sales pitch on it. Sell it based on personal freedom. Use this and you never have to copy and paste that address block ever again, which allows you to create those newsletters for marketing that you've been wanting to get started. Or now we can finally map out and start a maintenance program that will be great for clients, more money for the firm, and structured client interactions. So it's in how you frame it, getting buy-in, because people want to feel that it has a purpose, not just thrown at them. So if you're hearing all this and nodding your head because you have a Sarah or Mike in your office, or maybe you're identifying with parts of being like Sarah or Mike, or maybe you're realizing that you are the bottleneck, we can help. We don't just build the tech, we understand the people who use it. We know how to bridge that gap between the code and the culture. Pardon me. So, with next steps, you can assess team dynamics regularly. You can facilitate open communication channels. You can implement feedback mechanisms promptly, encourage ownership in projects, and monitor progress. And always, 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 no matter the size, big or small, celebrate wins. Beth, comments? Because buy-in is really big on your side of what we do. And it's probably one of our biggest things.
Right. It is all about buy-in. And it's buy-in from the people that are using it every day and everything else. So I will tell you from experience that the firms that adopt new softwares the easiest and that have the most success in moving forward and making the most improvements um, both quickly and to meet the goals and to do all of that. The firms that are doing that are the ones that have the buy-in from everybody. They are the ones that everyone in the firm meets with us. I know most of their names. I don't remember their names because I can't remember people's names, but I do know who they are. And they ask questions and they feel in their space that they are able to ask questions and give suggestions and things like that. Those firms move forward the best. The firms that struggle, and there are firms that struggle, are the firms where the CFO or the attorney, which is the absolute worst, I'll tell you that. And I tell attorneys that all the time. So where they're in charge of the project. I want everything to come through me. I'm going to make all the decisions. I'm going to do all that. And that is the biggest struggle. So, really being able to have buy-in from everybody is so important. And if you have one person that is not bought in, give it some time and keep working on it. Because that one person, once they do get bought in, it's like a light switch gets thrown, and then they are the biggest fan of the changes that you're making. So yes, that's absolutely it. Buy in, buy in, buy in.
Yeah, and we see it all the time. And like Beth said, the firms that succeed, I'm not going to use the word succeed because any firm can succeed. The
Right.
firms that move forward efficiently and are not treading upstream or they're not swimming upstream are the ones that did the pre-work before they got new software or updated their software. They did the buy-in before the project started. So
Yep.
it'd be amazing if you could get 100%, but even if you get,
Hmm.
everybody but one or two, but that person is on the fence, that is so much better than just dumping it. So there
Right.
is pre-work, and we work with firms all the time. We'll meet with attorneys, and they said, I'm just going to implement this. And Beth will pause them for a minute and say, what does your staff think, this and that? And sometimes she'll have a meeting with the whole team to demo it, to show them how it affects different roles, the client service coordinators, the paralegals, the director of operations, and the benefits to each one and the trade-offs, because it depends on what you're doing, and then how new ways can be done. Because if this all sums up into you have to grow in your role. You can't sit stagnant anymore. Law firms are waking up and they're moving forward with technology because they know it creates better communication, it's more efficiency, and it creates more capacity for more revenue. So if other firms are doing this and your firm is pushing back on it, you're going to be left behind. Um, but it's a good thing. Um, Everything's moving to AI. It's moving to automations. and it's moving to streamlined efficiency. And I'm not going to say get on or get off the boat or get on board or get off the boat. But just when you're sitting there, just think about what hesitations do you have about it? Write down your obstacles, even with software that you currently have. Write down your obstacles. So if it's something that can be solved, you can quash it. Um, but if it is about moving to another one, really do some self introspection on why are you pushing back so hard? Is it because that's the way we've always done it? Or that's what I'm comfortable with? And if those are the answers, you need to just start changing your mindset. And it's a process, but you can do it as long as you laser focus yourself on that. All right, I'm going to stop the recording and we are going to go into open Q&A. So let me hit stop.